Hi everybody, hope you can see and hear me okay. Be lovely to see your chat in the next moment or two, but do let me know when of course you can see and of course indeed hear me. I think we're off. Hello Tish, so do let me know when you can see me and this increasingly bushy beard. Thank you Catherine. Hi Mitzi. See and hear me well, that's good. That's what we want to hear. New home haunted. Oh gosh, Elizabeth, do tell. Probably by cleaning ghosts, yes. We'd all like one of those, haven't we? Or Tinkerbell. Hello, Susan. Good to see you. Thank everybody for dropping by last night. It's my first time out since I was shaking off this awful bloody cold that I've had for quite some time, which has been no fun. I can tell you that for nothing. But I do appear to be kind of on the mend, so hopefully we'll have the energy to get through today. But I must say I have been just bodily tired with it. Thank you, Leslie. Hello there. You know how it is when you get one of these and you're heavy-limbed and you're aching and you just think, oh, by tomorrow it'll be okay, by tomorrow. And kind of week and a half has gone by and it's only really just starting to kind of lift properly now. So if I start to lag, I'm sure you'll understand. But hopefully we are kind of good to go for a good hour or so, hour and a half. Depends how long it takes to get round, really. I've kind of roughly mapped out a route, so we'll see. There's a couple we're going to have to miss out on just because it would make it such a crazy route. But I've tried to do it in such a way that we can kind of make sense of getting round York. Thank you. So I think it's possibly a light flu. Maybe some kind of COVID variant. I haven't had a test. My wife did. She said it wasn't COVID, which I'm prepared to believe, but who knows what is going on. Nurse Humphrey, yeah, every time I kind of laid down the sofa dish, Humphrey was very happy to spoon. So yeah, he's definitely been a sofa spooning companion for me and has enjoyed that greatly, I fear. So Treese on as well. Hello Treese, nice to see you here this afternoon. Elizabeth here as well. So I think we are about 3 o'clock, so I'm going to kick us off and say welcome to this year's Ghosts of the Ardens tour. It's been the third year we've done this, and what's nice is there are some new ghosts, new locations. So I've tried to kind of make sense of this. Obviously, there's the bits in between, as ever. We'll witter on and kind of work that through. But without further ado, let us spin round because we're up on the city wall. So I'll just give you a kind of panning across. We are on by the Castle Museum. So kind of what I think was the third section of the walls, and give you a pan across and really see our very first ghosts of the tour. So this one is a new one. I believe we haven't seen it before on our tours, and I understand that this is intended to be a Tudor executioner, and we'll kind of pan down for him in a minute. And as ever with these things, how we kind of catch the light, and sometimes actually against the stone doesn't work especially well. So we'll kind of pan back, and you'll see he's wearing a distinctive hood. I can kind of get in. I'm trying to get so that he sort of catches the light, and you can see. And he's down there with a rather nasty-looking axe. So then this axe, of course, is one that is designed to leave you with your head and body ripped asunder. So actually it wasn't a very common, we sort of think of it as a kind of historical method of execution, but it wasn't especially common. Hanging was much more common for your common criminals. So the beheading really was kind of reserved for your upper class. It was designed, for the rich and the powerful, really. So perhaps it's not greatly surprising that often the people who have been victims of the axe we hear about, of course, being the ghosts. Then we afterwards here in York got Henry Percy, who threw his lot in with Mary, Queen of Scots. He ended up at Holy Trinity Graveyard, which we're heading up in the next half an hour. We'll be up there. Anne Boleyn, Catherine Howard, both believed to haunt King's Manor, or one of each is one of them to haunt King's Manor. Guy Fawkes, some say the ghost of Guy Fawkes is here in York. So he's always sort of associated with crimes of treason. So, as I say, whilst the Axeman is it kind of really, gets our imagination, doesn't it? It wasn't really at all a popular form, well, never a popular form, but it wasn't a well-used form of execution. So regular criminals would have been hanged. But of course, if you're guilty of treason, you could be hanged or even executed, hang, drawn and quartered. So there's all sorts of kind of mean and nasty methods waiting for you. And of course, as well, it wasn't a paid job. And an executioner was often a murderer that had been spared. He'd agreed to become an executioner rather than face the death penalty himself. So altogether, a rather kind of antisocial job. They wore a hood so they couldn't be kind of recognised. And of course, why would you give it to a murderer? Well, if you think of it from a religious point of view, thou shalt not kill. Judicial murder is problematic. So far better to give it to somebody who's going to hell anyway, as a murderer, than have it on your conscience as a decent man. So, as I say, I'm not too convinced how well that is rendering against that background. So let's go on. So we've seen our very first ghost of 2024. And I think we're going to I'm going to try and show between 35 and 40 today, depending on my cough coming back, depending on how we get on. So there are plenty to see. And the next one is very nearby. So excuse me if I cough. It's kind of cold and damp. It was meant to be sunny this afternoon. That's when I sort of looked and thought, what's the best day for this over the weekend? Midweek, this was lovely and sunny today, so we've been kind of robbed really, which is a shame, but there we go. It's a bit cold and damp, so if it gets on my chest and start coughing, I'm sure you will excuse me. But so the next one we're coming up to already is Castle Mills. So we're looking at the rear of the Castle Museum here, and at the rear is what they call the Castle Mill. And in this particular scenario, and I may need some zoom for this one because obviously we can't get up close, is a Victorian miller. So let me just try and get into an optimal kind of position. And very overcast in London, so here we go. Can we see? So there he is, there's the miller, and he's hoisting up a bag of what is going to be grain, excuse me, to go into the mill up above. So the castle's rear, absolutely. Gargle with brandy, that sounds good. So he's got a heavy load there that's kind of bring up to the supplies entrance. And of course that's going to be turned into flour. So the Castle Mills, this kind of area where we are now, is first mentioned in 1135. It was the gap in the wall, so the walls kind of ended over here, and there was a water across the Possum Tower where we were just a moment ago. But this isn't the original mill. This mill was actually moved here in the early part, I think, of the 20th century. The later part, it was about 1960s, and it was up on the moors. And you probably remember the story I've told you before about Dr. Kirk, who was the doctor that basically put together the collection for the Castle Museum. He basically continued his legacy, excuse me, even after his death, by acquiring stuff. And so they acquired this mill here that's now decorated with the miller. So there was a mill here. It was called Castle Mills. But unfortunately, during wartime, it was requisitioned. But the war in question was the English Civil War. And they decided that such was the need of defending York that they, instead of grinding corn here, they grind gunpowder. And I know you're thinking, what could go wrong? And you'd be right to think that, because of course, inevitably, the spark comes and the whole thing is blown to pieces in the 1650s. So they rebuilt it, but eventually it was demolished in the later part of the Victorian era. And so I say, the mill that you're looking at there was located up on Kirby Mill side, and the North Yorkshire moors. And so that is in fact also a ghost really in many respects, representing the former mill that was here in the Victorian era. So I can't get any closer, so I think that we will we'll move on and go and see our third ghost of this. I'll just take that zoom off if I may. And if I haven't said hello to you, I'll try to do that now. So Susan's here, Leslie's here, Tish, Cheryl Hudson, and who else do we have on? We said hello to Elizabeth, didn't we? And Laura Squirrel. Hello, Laura. And now there is a squirrel in the gardens, but I don't know where it is. With the idea ahead of this tour was to go out and scope the locations, find all the ghosts, so I could just basically take you straight to them today. But being ill all week, I've not been able to do that. So we are very much searching for this. I don't really know where they are. I know roughly where they are. So consequently, it's going to be a case of hopefully we'll find them all. But I know there's a squirrel in the museum gardens. I understand it's down by the Riverside Walk, so we're going to search that out if we can. But there's no guarantees that we'll find that. But we're next in search of an archer who is up on the top of Clifford's Tower. So Clifford's Tower is about to hove interviews. We could have come round the corner at the edge, the rear of the Crown Court building, the former site of the public gallows here in York in the 19th century. This is where they strung up the Luddites, the guys who smashed up the mills, were all strung up in this space here on the new gallows. York squirrels are very friendly. Well, there's a story about that actually. I'll tell you something really interesting about the York squirrels. So for those that don't kind of know, the museum gardens is absolutely full of squirrels, and they're super, super tame. And for a long time, people would come in there. There's a really nice old guy. I used to live just at the back of the gardens, and I'd walk through every morning, and this chap was sat here, a retired guy, and he'd feed them peanuts, like in shells, monkey nuts, whatever we call them. And they were so tame, they'd come up and sort of take it sort of straight from him. Anyway, eventually lockdown came, and the whole thing was closed off for months. And then, when they opened, the squirrels hid. They'd forgotten that humans were kind of friendly and kind of benign and nice to them and all this, that and the other. So consequently, it took another year or two then for squirrels to kind of get back to their level of kind of trust with humans, which I thought was kind of interesting. So up on here, I am told, informed reliably, that there is an archer. So again, this is one of the distant ones. As we sort of get more into the tour, we should see some more close up, but there's obviously a balance in between those that are we can walk up to, a bit like the executioner a minute ago, and those that are perched up on high angles. But I'm told the archer's on the top, so it shouldn't be too difficult for us to spot. And of course, if you haven't paid your entry to get into Clifford's Tower, you probably have to see him face to face. But let's walk around and see what we can see. So, of course, the archers would have been on sentry throughout history, the medieval period, and it was a very, very effective weapon of war. The archer, it was kind of machine gun of its day, capable of, obviously a lot of archers together, able to set off volleys of arrows, which could cause mayhem on the opposing kind of troop line. So I'm still looking. Hopefully it'll hove into view. I may just sort of step back a little bit because it may well be that the angle we're at is not lending itself. But I do remember this one from last year, so I think we should spot it fairly easily. So I suspect it's around sort of this side. And so of course the bowmen that were there protecting the city for invasion. And of course very easy to kind of let off arrows, very accurate. And it was also the duty of men to retain and train as archers. In the English sort of medieval period, it was such a kind of potent weapon of war. And this, of course, here we are. So it's the English longbow. So let me just give you a bit of zoom up here. And then hopefully, as I come around, can you see him? He just, there he is. Right there. Did you spot him during your lots? So here he is. So the longbow, of course, is exactly that. It's a great long piece of wood, kind of shaped to bend and then twang back with tremendous force. So there he is in the middle. And so what's interesting is this castle, originally it's William the Conqueror, 11th century, but of course we know it burnt down with the Jews and so forth. So what we're looking at here, this stone castle, is from the 12th century, 13th, sorry. And the English archery law of the 13th century ensured that Englishmen would become experts with a bow and arrow. In the year of 1252, that a size of arms ensured that all Englishmen were ordered by law that every man between the age of 15 and 60 should equip themselves with a bow and arrow. Now, the Plantagenet King Edward III kind of took this further and decreed the archery law in 1363. And this commanded the obligatory practice of archery on Sundays and holidays. So it would be compulsory today to be practicing your archery skills. So the archery law forbade on pain of death, okay, all sport that took up time better spent on war training, especially artillery practice. So consequently, if you were trying to play bat and ball, early versions of football or rugby, theoretically you could have been put to death because you should have been out there with your bow and arrow training to defend the realm. King Henry I later proclaimed that an archer would be absolved of murder if he killed a man during archery practice. Now then, this is where the kind of off-quoted but completely fictional claim comes from that it's perfectly legal to shoot a Scotsman in York on a Sunday with a bow and an arrow. Excuse me. So, it's a lovely story. That's complete nonsense and baloney, but it's a lovely story. I really wouldn't recommend it as a defence. It's citing medieval law, which of course has been overturned subsequently. But nonetheless, that's where it kind of comes from, is this requirement that you should practice every Sunday, and that if in practicing somebody accidentally was to be killed, that will be a defence, kind of accidental death. So there you go. That's where that kind of comes from. So if you ever wondered where that lovely but frankly bonkers story about shooting Scotsmen on Sundays bow and arrows comes from, it's there. And the Scotsman bit has been worked in because obviously after the Wars of Independence and the Scots raids and attempts to sort of take the north, not so much York, Scotsmen were required to request permission to enter York and could be put to death if they refused permission and but still tried to get in. So consequently, you got a conflation really of two elements there, which kind of come together with a lovely sort of folk story that everybody likes to hear about, but sadly is not true. But there we go. You know, but again, why let the truth get away with a good story? Yeah, it's absolutely true. Go about it. Let's listen out for Scots accents today, and see if we can find anybody that we think should face the bow and arrow. See some demolition over here. So we think of York as being pretty much kind of permafrost because it never changes, but of course it's always evolving, always sort of changing, and new elements are going up. So we're going to go over now to the Merchant Adventurers Hall and have a look down there. And monkey nuts is peanuts. Yeah, I think monkey nuts is peanuts in shells, and that's what they liked. And of course, rather than eat them, they'd run off and bury them. And there was a study done somewhere that I read about a while back about squirrels, which was basically, have they got the capacity to remember where they buried them? And it concluded that no. And when you see squirrels digging up nuts, it's literally like a treasure hunt. They work on the basis that there's so many squirrels constantly digging so many holes for nuts that they're bound to find them. So it isn't really about claiming their own nut. It's more a case of believing in the process, digging away, and you'll be rewarded for your labour by finding yourself a nice nut. So in case you've ever wondered how is it that squirrels remember where their nuts are placed, apparently, research suggests they don't. It's just potluck if they find one. So there we go. Let's have faith. As a squirrel, you have to have faith in the process. So we're nice and near to the Merchant Adventurer, so I think we will pop down there and have a look and see what we can find. So how's the chat going on? Scotsmen don't like lying down, but they probably will be lying down afterwards. They hide nuts in Mitzi's window boxes. And is that welcome, Mitzi? Do tell whether that is a welcome development, or is that something that you seek to persuade them to bury the nuts elsewhere? And question Mitzi, does it like the same squirrel that comes and finds them? Or do they appear different? I know that's probably a difficult question. They all look pretty similar, I know. I saw a YouTube video of a squirrel hiding nuts in St. Bernard's fur. Wow, really? That's amazing. So in a dog's fur. So we're coming into the Merchant Adventurers Hall, and of course the Merchant Adventurers were traders. These are wealthy merchants, the guys who bought and sold, imported, exported goods across Europe, and nothing new about trade. It's been going on for well over 1,000 years. Of course, the trading first starts with the overseas settlers, you know, with the Romans, with the Vikings and so forth. These people coming over and then missing goods from home, goods and services. So consequently, trade to bring those kind of much missed. So like Americans, like Brits living in Spain wanting brown sauce and Marmite, they want their home comforts. So here we've got a lady who rather has been shot through. I rather like that. Do you like? I think this is a good one here. So she's sort of shot through. I'm going to give you lots of different angles on this to to enjoy. But she is shot through with roses, which I think looks stunning. And I'm going to try and get the angle so you can sort of see. It appears to me, and as ever, there's only a limited information about this, that she's got here a basket and that she's here to sell. That behind us there would be a meeting going on of the wealthy, the traders, the influential guys inside the building. But they're coming in and out, and so she's here to sell. Who knows what she's selling? Could be a nosegay. People smelled bad in those days, so maybe she's selling fresh flowers for them to sit and sniff when they're confronted with nasty wisps. Maybe it's something nice to eat. Or perhaps a flower for their buttonholes. Who knows? But we can see here a basket. But this one works particularly well, I think, through insofar as that we can move round. And as everyone, we've said this so many times, that there is such a strange intricacy to these things that are almost featureless when you close up, but move back and you sort of get all this humanity kind of comes through. They are a really wonderful and vibrant art form, and each year we can look forward to sort of coming through. And I don't think this lady was here before. I don't think we've seen this lady before. Who will buy? Yes, is that Oliver Twist? Who will buy my beautiful roses? Yeah, maybe it is that. Maybe she's selling flowers. But isn't that amazing? Look at that. There's a shot. Let's just try and get some of the building in the background. Let's just try and sort of go a bit artiste. There we go. How's that? Get that for a shot. Yeah, so Mitzi, absolutely wire mesh. So they're light gauge wire mesh, and obviously there's some kind of solid mass that they will use to kind of shape them. And then you see a purse down here. And obviously after that is how the light catches, insofar as that when you come close, you'll see that it's all pretty uniform. But of course, anything that's sculptured in 3D, light will fall in different places. And this kind of galvanized wire mesh, wherever the light hits, you get a different sort of look and feel. So you can sort of see there, sort of a bodice type apron kind of dress, I would think, over what she's wearing. So I don't think this is a woman of kind of high standing. She's wearing a bonnet, which no fine lady would have really been seen in. Again, you just do that, you just get a hint of her features. So clever, so clever. So I think definitely my favourite so far. They are so beautiful. But this one I think particularly is a lovely example. Let me just try and get that, frame that for you. Yeah, I think that they're impossible to resist, and they're so York. I've never seen anything like it elsewhere, and I'm sure sooner or later somebody else will go, "This is great. Let's have some in our city," and they'll become more widespread. But right now, I'd say these are kind of uniquely York, and so as I say, it's the third year that we've done this, and it's always an absolute delight. And I know many of you, as soon as I list it, you go, "Oh, fantastic! I was looking forward to that this year." So it's so nice that, you know, like far afield residents of York, that you're now coming to be part of our kind of annual cultural calendar and recognise and anticipate, look forward to being part of these, even though you're not able to be in York for the few weeks that this is on. You're able to partake, which is absolutely lovely. And that's just how virtual tours should work. So I think, this chap was here last year. So I believe there's 3 in this part. So here is a chap who is fishing. It has to be said that I think fishing in the Foss is a brave man indeed. I mean, if he's fishing for a hobby, I guess that's one thing. If he's fishing with the view that he's going to eat what he catches, then he's a brave man indeed. I think I'd take my chance with the executioner's axe rather than anything that came out of this river. We'll be nicked in 10 minutes in Preston. Well, what a shame, Cheryl, that is. And I mean no disrespect to Preston, but that people can't get behind, because I don't think this is difficult art by any stretch. I don't think this is high art. I think it's a really accessible, that kind of speaks to everybody. And of course, there's nothing more kind of working class than fishing, is there, as a sort of pastime. So I would think that a huge pity were these to be vandalised. But of course, Tansy beetles recently got vandalised with the book Snooks got vandalised. Unfortunately, it's a fact of life. But luckily, it would seem that most of them, seem to be doing okay. So you had huge wire mesh sculptures in London, the Tower of London for 2012. Oh, fantastic. I mean, 2012 was obviously an amazing time to be in London, Leslie, for the Olympics, those that don't recall. And they always set the standards. But I think this is distinctly York, with the being the people. But also, of course, trying to bring to mind different elements, different times, different periods of kind of York's history as well within that. So I say, I think it's a long time since anybody really would have fished with any meaningful sense of getting anything out of the River Foss. But they are absolutely beautiful, aren't they? So I think he looks very content, this chap, doesn't he? Or perhaps lost in thought. Is he happy? It's funny, isn't it? On some of them are totally emotionless, and others they scream emotion at you. I can't say. You tell me. I'll just try and lean and get the last chance. Do we think that he's just lost in the moment and he's in the moment fishing, or has he got stuff on his mind? He's not happy, or is he at peace? What do you get from the Fisherman? Do let me know, because we're going to have a walk down the Shambles next, and I'll see if we can't find one of the butchers. So let me know. Maybe you had friends, brothers, dads, uncles, granddads that fished. Remind you, oh, I think there's one more actually. Let's just try and find the third one before we depart. And but hello, Patty. But it's always so nice, I think, just to try and read and get a sense of. Do we feel is that emanating a positive vibe? Is it thoughtful? Is it sad? You know, what does that kind of convey to you? Because of course, there's no right or wrong answer. You know, art at the end of the day, or at least one perspective of it, is it's about capturing the human condition, isn't it? And so consequently, you know, in doing so, you've got to transmit that condition. So here we go. Lost in thought. Okay, fantastic. Now then, here we have. I've heard this lady before. Now this I think is at a perfect light. So we're much later period. We'll see with the ruffle here. I think we're a much higher class than anything we've seen thus far. I think we're into very much a lady of leisure and social position. The fact that she's playing the violin, or viola, whichever it is, would sort of suggest that. But look at the working there on her dress on the front. It's beautiful. And music, of course, very, very important part of York, whether it be music in the minster, in the churches, or, you know, even more importantly, perhaps, or more culturally importantly, the buskers. You know, the streets of York have been alive with entertainment for centuries. You know, since the Romans arrived, really. As soon as people arrived here with money, people with entertainers would kind of come in, and there's a grand tradition of kind of people supporting and you know, looking after financially street entertainers in York. Let's look at her face there. Can you see the lips? I'll just move back a little bit. Really beautifully rendered. You know, again, I'd say she's really at one with her instrument there. She's just feeling the music. The violin's fantastic, isn't it? You know, the whole thing is just done to such a high degree of artistry. But like I say, I would say this is art for everybody. I mean, disagree with me if you're wrong, if you think that this is highbrow, because I really don't think it is at all. I think it really is anybody from a little one up to a person in very advancing years can get a lot from these, because there's something very human, but also very distant, very still. And of course, York being a city of ghosts, that presentation I think just works beautifully. Should we take the leaf out of the hair, or should we leave it there? No, I think we'll take that. I don't think you'd want a leaf in your hair, lady, would you? She looks far too refined to want that. So you see, yeah, we've got the pegs on the violin there. So again, coming in, you just sort of see it is twisted wire. It's done very well. It's what it kind of brings together and kind of represents. So I can say there is a optimal distance. We can kind of come back and it's absolutely solid, but also there's a sort of slight kind of closing in distance as well, whereby we start to get the human touch. So again, there's a few places we need to get to before 4 o'clock. So we are going to walk on, because I'm trying to get into those places. So I do hope you've enjoyed our foray into the Merchant Adventures Hall. Colleen, one of her favourite tours. Yeah, mine too, Colleen. I mean, obviously, it's nice to meet us in York. I'd have to go too far afield. But also that it changes each year. You know, I think it started off, I don't know if the first year I did it was the first year, I can't remember. It might have existed the year before, but I think that was the first year that I did it. So I think it's 3 years old now. But each year, I know they start off with about 20, and now it's 45. So they keep adding to it, and so that's fantastic. I mean, what I'd love to do is see them off season wherever they're stored in in a warehouse or something. That'd be amazing. But no, I think that probably their setting is better off in the streets, isn't it? In situ, as you might say. So perhaps it's better to wait till they come out. But I'd love to sort of see them all together, because I think they are absolutely amazing. And as I say, hopefully none of them have been damaged and they're all good for next year. Just get bigger and bigger. You know, imagine one day we could have 100. Wouldn't that be amazing? 100. And start getting into residential neighbourhoods as well. That's what I'd like. Your city centre's fantastic, but there's a lot of York that people never get to see, which is perfectly delightful and lovely. And it would be nice to, when you get things like this, to extend them out a bit and put them in communities as well, so that people feel that it's not just always about the city centre, and just kind of manage some of that dynamic a little bit as well. But in the meantime, we will head towards the Shambles, a place I know you're very familiar with. We've been here countless times on these tours, and no doubt we'll be busy, but hey, it's Shambles, what are you going to do? If it wasn't busy, we'll be worried. York will be in trouble if the Shambles was quiet, so careful what we wish for. And yeah, Fran, I think that'd be really interesting. We'll be to try and speak to them, try and get a bit ahead of the curve and do 1 or 3 months before to see the creation process. I mean, I'm guessing it works on moulds. They do this, but I don't actually know how they do it. It would be fascinating to see that process, I agree. But then again, is that trying to capture lightning in a jar? Who knows? Maybe not such a good idea. So we'll see. But yeah, it's a good idea, that, Fran. I will put it to them. And that's it. So our next one is roving interview. There's eagle-eyed. We'll spot it in the middle. And it's one of those representations that reminds us of where we are. We're, of course, in the street of the butchers. Each one of these would have been a butcher's unit. So pretty messy as it stood, without really people throwing slop out the windows. But of course, that's what we've got here. So we've got a wonderful kind of cascade here of, I don't even want to know what that is really, to be honest. I think we're better off not knowing, other than to say it's not very nice and you wouldn't want it on your head. But there is. So maybe it is liquid, maybe it's blood, maybe it's from bedpans. Who knows what it's from? But there's a kind of casual disregard really there, isn't it, about what's happening on the kind of streets below when he's chucking that rubbish down. So don't stand on, yeah, under the gazunda. Absolutely, Leslie. I think that's sound advice for life, isn't it, really? It's kind of watch where you're standing. And of course, the Shambles was notorious for being a street which was kind of filled with blood and poo and nasty, also horrible, nasty things. So kind of remarkable now, of course, it is the kind of epicentre where everyone wants to come and spend time, because in years gone by, it was nasty indeed. It is not a place that you'd want to be. So yeah, snapshot in time there, but also a snapshot of attitudes, really, isn't it? Of just that sort of disdain, really, just to get rid of it, chuck it out the window. Our kind of contemporary views of kind of recycling and doing the right thing really do appear to be kind of fairly modern, don't they, as you might say. So there's another one just over here that we'll just pop to just as we are dans la vicinité, as they say. And it's just down by St Saviour Gate, so we'll just take a little slip down here and then we'll go. So excuse me for not dwelling on some of these, but I'm going to dwell more on the ones we can see close up, but also there's so many that I want to show you and say there's 2 or 3 places unfortunately closed early today, about 4 o'clock, so I'm trying to get those in first, so then we can perhaps sort of take our time against the gardens and so forth, where all of them we can see up close. So let me know, which one would be your favourite so far? We've seen sort of 7 or 8, I think, 6, 7, I don't know how many we've seen already, but a good number I think we've already seen. So let me know so far which of those has been your one of choice. Which one pushed your buttons, as they might say? Which one would you like to see again, if you were here? So I think that was number 7. I think we've seen 7. Just came out. We saw the execution, didn't we? We saw the miller, the arch from a distance, and then there was the lady with the roses, the fisherman, the musician with the fiddle, and yes, it's 7 so far. The shot bucket. So, Well, there is a cat somewhere, and I'm not sure where it is, if I'm being brutally honest, but I think there's one down here that I think is the Vikings are at Dig, former church of St Saviour, decommissioned church, which is now working as the Archaeological Research Centre, which is fantastic. Yeah, here he is. Which is all about getting kids engaged and enthusiastic about archaeology. So what a brilliant pursuit that is by the York Archaeological Trust. Let me just try and come up here. So there he is. There's a Viking, and he's got a hammer, which is the original war hammer, which is a pretty imposing weapon of war. You see his lovely verdant beard, a lot longer than mine. By the way, I'm not growing a long beard, by the way. It's probably not going to get much longer than it is now. But I'll just try and put that through. But isn't he fab? And again, you just see, can you see his face? I mean, it's amazing. To me, I don't know how well you're getting that on the screen at your end, but it looks to me like I can see his eyes, his mouth, his chin. A really kind of fine rendering. That's just so hard for me to get my head around the fact that it's just melded wire. You know, there seems to be so much humanity in that, and maybe it's actually just the stone pillar, the mullion of the church window behind that is kind of creating that. But it just seems to me like we've got a full 3D visual. It's just easy to absolutely, yeah, it's Billy Gibbons, isn't it? And what was the other one? Dusty Hill, wasn't he? Absolutely, Cheryl, completely. But that to me, that is something. Eh? But the texture in it just looks organic, doesn't it? Yeah, beer's amazing. I agree, but you know, it doesn't look fabricated. I think that's the word that I'm looking for. I agree. She's so skillful. It looks natural, like it has just emerged from, you know, the artist has put their fingers to it. And so again, let's look at the fingers, the hands down there, and all the way down to that axe, the hammer, the war hammer, that would do very, very serious damage to you if your head came in contact with it. So, shall we go this way or that way? Let's go up this way, because I really want to get you into. Let's go this way. If we miss one, we miss one. But the fun's in the searching, right? So, sorry, do say again. Which we're saying is our favourite, or is the Viking chap now, has he supplanted your favourite, and now actually he's your favourite? So do let me know that one again. Very fluid. I agree. Yeah, as I say, it's. But that's art, isn't it? I mean, and I wish I was somebody who could create art. I'm a huge appreciator of art, but I'm no good at creating it. Or this is my art, is these videos, I guess. But put that to one side. It's the ability, isn't it, to take things that are static or flat and rigid and give them that fluidity, bring things to life, isn't it? It's amazing. It always amazes me how people can just take a piece of paper and a pencil and suddenly, you know, you've got something that's so redolent of life. It's amazing. Saying, yeah, quite literally, that could be it, saying pray for battle. But of course, whilst they may kind of pray for victory, which I'm certainly would, actually a death on the battlefield was something that the Vikings sort of desired above all else. It was a kind of great way to go. It was how you would end up in Valhalla for eternity with Odin and so forth. So they certainly weren't afraid of dying in battle. I'm sure they would perhaps not want to leave behind their wives and families, but nonetheless it was an honourable death, was Valhalla on the battlefield. So consequently, maybe he was painting on Valhalla that day. Who knows what it was that he was looking to attain, but I think you're right, Elizabeth. He looked to be in contemplation, didn't he, ahead of a bit of conflict of what I was going to go down. And so my favourite is always the next one. Super Oklahoma, I love it, yeah. That's good. You are a pleasure, sort of delayed kind of gal. I like that, yeah. And there's always something better to come. Favourite as the Fisherman. Okay, interesting. Thank you, Dawn. Favourite the Fisherman. Sense of calm. Yeah, as I say, it's fascinating how these poses just sort of bring us and we might all reflect individually in different ways, which I'm sure is probably the case, which I think is kind of interesting too. That it says different things to us, as you might say, which is as it should be. So I think there's something in the Merchant Tailors, so we might as well have a look at the Merchant Tailors while we're here, if it means that we miss the treasurer's house, so be it. Perhaps one of your paintings, Catherine. Oh yeah, that'd be. But I think these would be hard to draw on. Catherine, of course, is an expert, but of course her métier is water, and water is all about impression, isn't it? Whereas in this, it's a weird combination of detail and impression. I think they'd be jolly hard to paint. I say a pen and ink with a water wash over it, maybe, Catherine. I'm trying to think how you would kind of look to render this. Perhaps a bit of hatching to give that sense, but of course, how then do you capture the detail? Because it's so difficult. Anyway, we'll leave that to Catherine. She's the artist, but I think that is a heck of a challenge to paint. But she painted Humphrey beautifully. And so here we are, look at this. Here's one you'll like. So Catherine, have a think and tell us. I'm not asking you to do it, but have a think. Would you do it? Would you do some cross hatching and then a wash over the top? I think it'd be very difficult. But so isn't she wonderful? Now I think she's some kind of seamstress. So I think this is a woman who appears to be holding some fabric. So we're by the Merchant Tailors' Hall, so that would be very much in keeping, wouldn't it, with kind of merchant tailors. So I think that she is working with fabric. She's got a measuring tape. Look at this, yes. That is, I think, a measuring tape around her neck. Yep, that's what that is. So she's sitting down. So she's been made to sit on a chair, which is interesting. The first one we've seen actually sitting down. So again, we can see again she's wearing a bonnet, which again would suggest that she's not perhaps of a high social class. But then, of course, many women worked in textiles, didn't they? Piecework, you might have heard the term piecework. That was literally working on pieces that would then be sort of sewn together to form larger pieces often. And piecework, you got paid for what you work, so it's now seen as a kind of a denigrated form of labour. There's no kind of no support around it. But for many centuries, most women were employed in some way, shape or form with the textile industry. So isn't she fab? So again, she's got a sort of bodicy type neckline. Thank you, Lizzie. And we've got, I don't think you see here, but we've got a little bit of loose wire there that is in effect the thread, and coming across her lap there, she's got the piece of fabric, the embroidery, somebody said a minute ago. I think you're absolutely right. And then, of course, we can see her dress sort of panning out as well. So, do you like this lady? Colin like the violin lady. That's fantastic. I mean, there's no right and wrong answer to this, is there? It's simply, you know, which one sort of speak to us, really. I think that's the absolute charm of this is you know, it's you pick and choose. You know, there's no rights and there's no wrongs. But I think that she is fab. Bridget loves this. Hello, Bridget. No, you're on. So nice to see you today. So let's leave this lady to her seam. She's probably getting a bit annoyed with us, whittering on in the background when she's trying to concentrate on what she's doing. So let's walk on and see if we can't get in a few more while we're here. So let's go down now to the church, and what should we go to? Yeah, let's try that. We'll try. Trying to decide whether to try and go into Gray's Court and Treasurer. Yeah, we'll do that actually. We'll do Gray's in the Treasurer's house. And if we lose Hull Trinity, then so be it. Actually, the signal's not very good down there anyway. So very detailed it was, wasn't it, Laurie? So I enjoyed that one a great deal. So again, a new one. I don't think we've seen that lady before. So as I say, it's very nice that we've got a collection of ones that we are recognising. Oh yeah, I remember that one from last year or the year before, and ones that are brand new for this year. So it's nice to have the blend of both. Take a sip. And I know there are some in. I'll see if we can just pop our head around the corner. Not really go into Gray's Court, because that's, you know, it's a private cafe, but if we can just sort of see them on the lawn from where we go past, perhaps just poke our nose in, as you might say. I know you can see them from the city walls, but we haven't really got time to go up on the walls today and have a look at that. And again, it'd be a long panning shot, so we're probably no nearer than if we're able to just see any from the lawn. So we will do that, I think. So we're going on Oglethorpe, behind the Minster. And we're trying to, as I say, there's two places, there's three places, the Merchant Adventurers, Holy Trinity, Goodrum Gate, which we haven't been to yet, and the Treasurer's House, all shutting at 4 o'clock today. So I was trying to do a bit of a weaving run to get us into those, and then for the second part of the tour, we're going to take it easy and go to wherever we want to go. But as I say, with those kind of being hard closures in terms of 4 o'clock, which we're now at 4:15, I was doing my best to allow us to get as many of those in as possible before the guillotine came down on us and the gates clanged shut. So we'll have a quick look and just see if we can see any in Great Court, and then we'll go into the Treasurer's House, which is just next door, so we should have time to get in there, see the Minster coming into view. So let's just see what, if anything, and actually this gate is shut, so if we can't see any, I'll just push straight on. But let's just see, yeah, look at this. Yeah, so in the gardens, I know that there's a couple in here, but I think you only see them from up on the walls. So never mind, we'll go to the Treasurer's House. This is the rear of the Treasurer's House here, so we've not got far to go. So we'll go there instead, and then maybe we'll get Holy Trinity as well for 4 o'clock, which would be great. So I do hope that you are all enjoying yourselves on this. Plenty more to see. There's loads in the gardens this year, so we're sort of doing the outlines first, and then we'll head down towards the gardens area, museum gardens, and try and find little ones, because it's dead easy finding big ones, but finding squirrels and falcons and all sorts of things like that is a good deal more challenging. So we'll see what we can do. So if we can get in here in the garden, which hopefully we can, I believe that there's 3 here, 2 or 3, and we'll do our best. See you all there. As Leslie said, lovely to walk around. What's nice, of course, as you can see here, is the relative distances between these places. You know, York is very small. Obviously, the outskirts where people live, much bigger. But in terms of the historical core, it is remarkably so small and snug, easy to get into. And the constables of the Minster here, passing us by. It was unique, of course, having its own warranted police officers. So I just want to show you your shoulder. The Minster Police there, you see? Yep. So folk in America can see that. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Oh, this gate, is it locked? Are we done for the day? So we may have to just go on a bit of zoom. Yeah. So we'll just take a touch of zoom there. So there we go. We have a Victorian lady, a Victorian gentleman, and of course it's very likely this is a chap called Frank Green. So Frank Green was the chap who donated this to the National Trust, the kind of National Conservation Society in the UK. And he took it from being something of a beautiful historic wreck and converted it back into a kind of upmarket stately home, a private home in York. But what he then, when he gave it across to the National Trust, was that he said, you've got to keep it precisely as I left it. Otherwise, I'll come back and haunt you. So it's kind of quite appropriate, of course, that he would be turned into one of the ghosts in the gardens. So it does look like Mary Poppins. I think it's of that era. I think it's a very late Victorian, sort of turn of the century, coming to the Edwardian era. I think you're kind of right in that date stamp there. Could be courting, could be his wife, could be one of his daughters. Just trying to get as much zoom on there without the gates going. But aren't they lovely? And again, I think the bustles of her, that natural movement that she's got, it kind of, I think, really, really works, this one, for me. I think there's a third one in here, but I think we're going to struggle to see that, obviously, through the gates. But isn't it an absolute... They should be playing croquet, shouldn't they? They've definitely got that look. I think we are definitely here. We've gone up market, haven't we, Cheryl and Donnie? It feels like we're now the paparazzi at the gate, and we're kind of spying on these good folk, and they're every right to shoo us away. Perhaps we'll be down with a shotgun in a minute to scare us away. We look like we are the beggars at the gate, the barbarians at the gate, should I say. So I like those a great deal. So I'll just kind of pan back so you can just get the setting there. So, and as I've told you before, that's where I got married all those years ago. In there, but aren't they lovely? So fab. Let's walk on, and we'll try and get you into Holy Trinity before the gate closes over there. And again, I'm not entirely sure what's in Holy Trinity, so it's a voyage of discovery. The fun is in not knowing, but the finding out, right? Actually, I think it's the female stonemason. I could be wrong, but I think it's like a lady called Mary Ann Fisher. But let's see. I can't guarantee we'll get in because that was until 4, and they'll shut it at 10 to. So their staff, they're very keen to get away, aren't they? So consequently, there's no guarantee we'll get in, but we will do our best. And don't worry, there's plenty more to see because, as I say, I think there's about 10 in the gardens alone. So once we're in there, we've got loads of time. So, gosh, it's 10 to 4 already. We've already been on 50 minutes. I knew it'd take a while today, so I thought, well, I put 2 hours, I think, in the diary. Not necessarily thinking it'll take 2 hours, but just more to say as a placeholder. It's not a 1 hour tour because, you know, there's 40 odd of these things now. So as many as we can reasonably hope to get in, we'll do that. And there'll still be ones we miss, but that's simply because you can't always just make sense of the locations. And I completely get, you know, sometimes it's about people promoting their businesses, sometimes it's about generating footfall. It's not about really, you know, what I'm doing, which is trying to make sense of a route to see every single one. So consequently, it can be a nuisance. Have you seen new ones? Yeah, you have, Lethargy. You've missed, maybe skip to the beginning, you know, at the end, and you'll see them. So yeah, we've seen, I think, what, 2 or 3 new ones? I think the Seamstress lady was definitely new. Have we seen the violin lady before? I think the lady with the basket with the roses might have been new. I think the Viking we've seen before with the warhammer. I think we've seen him before. And the archer we've definitely seen before. The executioner we haven't seen before, the first one. So I think a mixed Lethargy. So at the end of the tour, what I suggest you do is you just whiz back to the beginning and watch the first sort of 40 minutes or whatever, 45 minutes, whichever bit you missed. And they'll all be there for you to have a look at. So the light's starting to go down, which means you get that lovely, cosy light. Is it just me, or is that make that orangey sort of glow make you want to go inside and sort of sit down, have a bite to eat, and a drink? Something nice, maybe a hot chocolate, something stronger perhaps, or something in hot chocolate maybe, to keep the cold and damp out. But there's something to me very, very inviting about that kind of light that makes me think, oh, so nice. But that's because I love the lady tossing the pot's contents was you. Yeah. Oh yes. Yeah, in the Shambles. Yeah, I think you're right, Tish. I think that was a new one. So again, definitely Lethargy. It's well worth going back to the beginning. I mean, there's no real narrative to this today. I could have, I suppose, tried to move it together. If it had been more of a Halloween, but we've finished, haven't we? That festival now. So maybe I'll talk about that in a little bit actually when we go walking out to the gardens. I'll give you a bit of a refresher on All Hallowtide. But let's just see if we can get in here. Oh, we can. Oh, fantastic. So I think, so this is the famous Anne Lister lettered church. Yeah, cold winter nights. So I'm not entirely sure what's in here or where we'll find. I found a church. Favourite church ever. Just beautiful. Holy Trinity, Goodrham Gate. I think Leslie came in here when she was in New York, if I remember rightly. I've brought Linda from New York down here as well. But this is a lady called Mary Ann Fisher. And she was a real kind of pioneer because she was a stonemason in the 18th century and worked on this church. So not only have we got Anne Lister and Anne Walker, who are kind of, obviously, you know, kind of fascinating women from the 18th century, 19th century, and being part of this church story. We've also got Mary Ann Fisher, who was quite literally involved in kind of cutting the stone and making graves so forth. So a very unusual profession for a woman at that time. And here she is. So she was in the early 1800s. So it's the late kind of Georgian era. That's right. I thought you'd been here, Leslie. You rung the bell. So there she is with her hammer. So again, just thinking about challenging gender stereotypes and what was an appropriate role for a woman. You know, stonemason isn't one that you'd necessarily put high up on the list in the years gone by, let alone now, really, I suppose. So she's something of a pioneer. That's the word we use, isn't it? She was definitely a pioneer of her craft. And as you can see, she's not there just directing the fellas to get on with it. She's not an architect or a designer. She is very much hands-on. So back here, I really like the rendering of her apron, which I think is just fab. Mitzi likes this one. So again, the pleats in the fabric and the apron ribbon, I think, is just great. You know, the whole thing. Yeah, action figure. Yeah, absolutely, Letitia. That's a great way of kind of putting it. You know, she is absolutely an action figure. I like that expression. I'm just adding a little bit of light on now, just seeing if that makes any difference to how we kind of capture it, because we're starting to get that kind of in between light now, intermediate light. So I'm just adding a little bit of light and just seeing if that makes a difference. You see? On, off, on, off, on, off. Suit hammer, yeah, definitely, yeah. It's not a little chippy thing, is it? I mean, she's going for it. She's more than in control, it would seem, of her chisel. So I think that's pretty cool. Now I think, if I remember rightly, that I read there's a fox in here as well. So I'm just going to see if we can just find that before we get, because of course foxes are part of the urban landscape. And if you come out late at night, you'll very often be confronted with a fox, simply because there's so much food here. People go out late at night and then they have their here we are, their kebabs and their McDonald's and so forth, and they leave the litter. And so these little critters, they love the easy food and the prey. So I think we've seen this chap before. I think he was in the Edible Garden. We saw him a couple of years back, or maybe last year. I forgot, it's really Vulpine. But we've got a little fox here. And so absolutely, this is what you'd expect to find in urban settings, is a fox. Although they probably wouldn't find a great deal of food wrappers here in Holy Trinity Graveyard. More likely would need to be out in the streets, but pretty easy to find kind of food once you're out and about. So Laura, you see, that's unusual. A squirrel that loves a fox, Laura. You don't get many of those, I wouldn't think. But he's very slender, doesn't look very full, does he? So I suspect that he's rather hungry, and he's hoping he's going to get a bounty of KFC or McDonald's or kebab or something. Wouldn't thought he'd be a fan of curry. I don't think the spices would do much for him. But I thought so. I thought he was a rather skinny fox, Elizabeth. So it looks like he needs a good feed to me. But they're going to be closing up here. It's 5 to 4. So let us be on our way. Fox are my favourite, especially if they're hunting pigeons. Oh, interesting. Yeah, I could be wrong, Dawn. I often am. So let's not put any kind of great weight on that. But I have a feeling that we saw him before, and that he was in what they call the Artist Gardens, which is where we're going to be heading up. We're going up that way. So I'll show you where I think that he was previously behind the art gallery, but don't put too much weight on that. So we'll leave behind. That's a good shot. I like that one. We hadn't seen her from behind, have we? She really is an action gal. So I like her a lot. So has that changed? Has anybody kind of seen anything in the last sort of 10 minutes that they've gone, oh no, that's my favourite now? Changed mine. So that's the bell Leslie was talking about. So if you come here, there's a big bell to dong on your way into this delightful church. And this church, of course, is the famous one where it's all lit up on a night with candles. It's not there's a electric light in there. Fabulous place, Church Conservation Trust. So if you visit in York, do make that on your itinerary. It is a fabulous place to come and see, but very, very dark in there. And sadly, the 4G rather, ain't much cop, has to be said, inside. So thank you. So let us go onwards, upwards, sideways and down. And we must do an Anne Lister tour at some point and talk about Anne Lister. Perhaps we'll go over and do some video work in Halifax at Shibden Park, and then combine the two. That'd be fun. So those lights ever more lit up now. That's funky, like that. Neon noodle bowl. That's great. We found some noodles. Who'd like a nice warming bowl? Flavoursome, maybe some spicy dandan noodles. Yeah, there's definitely a cat somewhere. I couldn't tell you where the cat is, but I think in the gardens. But of course, the light is getting lower, which is going to make it more fun to try and find these little blighters. But in the meantime, we're going to head up to Barley Hall because I'm relatively sure that the lady up there is one we've seen before. Something of a, a Juliet balcony, if I remember rightly. So let me just get a sip of water and then we'll be there directly in 2 shakes of a lamb's tail. Is it 2 shakes, 3 shakes, whatever it is? And why a lamb's tail? Where does that come from, I wonder? So the Halloween shop windows are now kind of giving way to Christmas. I'm starting to look in and everything. Christmas shopping, the Christmas fair's going to be starting before we know it. So as if it's kind of calendar of York that you've all sort of come to sort of know and love to, everything getting very Christmassy now. You know, you can kind of predict some of the tours that are going to be coming your way. We're going to go to Knaresborough for Christmas market. We're going to go to Beverley for Christmas. We're going to go, obviously, here. So those that like to get their full fill of Christmas, we will definitely look to plug that for you, give you your Christmas fix. And wherever you are in the world, you can compare how we do it, how you do it, and decide if you think that we do it well. But Beverley, where we were a few weeks ago, 3 weeks ago now, it was a Sunday, and they do a lovely Christmas market by the Minster. So I think it'd be nice to take us there this year. Anyway, so I realised that Barley Hall named under a modern man. Interesting, Trees, thank you for that contribution. Yeah, obviously Barley Hall is a modern thing. Obviously, it sounds crazy, right? Because it's a medieval house, but it was only discovered in the 1980s. A brick facade was around it, because how did you not find a medieval house? Well, the answer was, there was a modern brick, modern Victorian brick facade on it. So it's only really begin pulling that down that they realised the quality of what was there so underneath, really. So it wasn't obvious by any stretch that you had Barley Hall there. But yes, as Tris points out, it relates to the period of discovery and ownership rather than anything medieval. But I'd love to read that, Leslie, but you're right on the brickwork at the minute. It's white text against the brick and I can't read it, but it looks jolly interesting, whatever you've written. So I will try and catch that in a second. So Barley Hall, as we know and love, look how gorgeous it is. Describe someone can be done very quickly. The 2 shakes of lamb's tail. Thank you. That's fantastic. Thank you. There's always somebody. This audience is so knowledgeable. There's always folk what know. Should we go up at the risk of getting told off? Let's just, you know me, seek forgiveness rather than permission. Oh, she's floating. Look. Wow. How wonderful is that? Thank you, Trist, for filling in the gaps in our knowledge. That's most considerate. So we sort of think it's a bit of a Juliet balcony, don't we? And it does seem that there's something deeply, thank you, Linda, romantic about this. But don't you love that? Well, I mean, you're probably not meant to notice that because it's not really sort of customer-facing, as you might say. But to me, it makes it even more fascinating. So let's go back down the stairs now. And we'll have a look at it from below, looking up, which is perhaps there we are, looking back into Barley Hall. But we're so fortunate in York, aren't we, to have so many places where you can put these things and they just look stunning. And of course, it looks like they should always be there, doesn't it? But they're there for a few weeks of the year, which makes this even more. So let's try and get a bit of zoom on her, and then we'll step back and try and get you a few different angles. I think we'll just step back a little bit. There she is. The flying pear, says Lotus Tish. Isn't she something, huh? And again, you're just getting a hint, really, of the kind of features there, aren't you? So I think it's meant to kind of bring that to mind. I don't think in particular York connection with Juliet, but I think it definitely brings to mind, doesn't it? Up above. Thank you, Cheryl. That's most kind. Isn't it? Yeah, it's absolutely wonderful. You know, and as with all these things, you know, it's not simply it's the artwork. It's the artwork sort of combined with the position. It's the combination, isn't it, that I think just works so fabulously well. Let's just try and turn it from this angle. So again, unfortunately with the zoom, you do get a bit of drift on there. So we put it there with the light behind her, and again, she now appears like a ghoulish grin, which is can you see that? She appears like a grinning skull now. Slightly creeping me out, so I think we'll go back around here, where she looks together, all together. Well, although it definitely appears like a skull. Is it just me? Or is it like, you know, the recessed eyes? Does it look like it's a skull to you? Or is that my imagination? Do let me know if I'm just getting a bit over the top on the ghosts. Or are you getting a sense that there's something about otherworldly about this one? I'm with Tish. I think there's something not quite right here. And of course, the fact that she's floating goes a long way. Yeah, skull. I think we're definitely. Yeah, enough of her. She's a bit creepy. But not to worry. There are lots more that I think are friendlier. So let me just have a little look at the map and work out where we are going next. Down the Sickleby, of course. Judge's Lodgings, of course. So I believe it's going to be the same. I think this is one. So that's definitely one that we've seen previously, isn't it? I think the lady up there, we've seen her. And I'm pretty sure, unless it's changed, the judge as well is going to be one that we've seen hitherto as well. So, as I say, it's nice that there's a mix of ones we remember and ones we're seeing for the first time. So, let us head down here. And yeah, I agree, John. Give it a chill. There's something a little bit unnerving about her. Not dissimilar. I'm not sure if she's out. I think she is. You know, with the bride, usually in the gardens with the ring. There's something of her quality, I felt. But I mean, it could be, of course, that again more Christmas stuff going on here. It could be, of course, that there are more than one artist doing this, and you know, there are elements, if you like, that certain artists are impressing upon theirs. That some of them are more benign, and some of them are more a little bit creepy, a little bit otherworldly. Who knows? So that could be the case. That's something to find out. I generally don't know if it's one person doing all the crafting, or there is two or more people involved. Obviously, the ones that are already made probably just need a bit of touching up, but those that are done from scratch is a solo pursuit. We're certainly getting very, very Christmassy indeed down here. It's the mansion house in front of us. Looking lovely. They'll be getting their Christmas decks out.
Yes.
Sure. Oh no, actually, it's closing down. I beg pardon. It's closing down for the winter. For some. It's going to open again in the spring, but they are having some renovation work done, so they won't have Christmas decks this year. But I'm sure we'll have, as usual, the Christmas tree right in the middle here. But yeah, York shops are lovely. Thank you, Leslie, for reminding everybody what a great place it is to come and do Christmas shopping, or come and be here for Christmas, before Christmas, during Christmas, however you like Christmas. I think we do pretty well here. So there's a lot to like. So heading up towards the museum gardens, where of course there's lots of these ghosts. And before we do, we pop in Judge's Lodgings, see if we can get up the steps and have a look at the judge. And if it's the same one as last year, I think it's sort of a judge from the Black Code period, a Dick Turpin hanging style judge. We'll talk about that in a second, if we can see him. Have a little drink. Thank you, Leslie. I agree. And if you're in the UK, definitely, because everyone in the UK goes to London, right? And as Leslie will tell you, it's 2 hours on the train. And literally, you leave in King's Cross, which is pretty much central London, to be in central York 2 hours later. What's not to like, right? So, yeah. So, Judge's Lodgings. So, of course, this was purpose-built residence for the assize courts, the judges, the justices coming up. And it was built at a time of the hanging judges, where there was over 300 crimes punishable by death. So there he is with his gavel, ready to send somebody off to the gallows. Or perhaps if you were fortunate, you might get sent instead to the colonies, initially to the United States. But of course, after the War of Independence, that was no longer an option. So of course then to Australia, down under. So there he is with his gavel, ready to send you on your way. And as he gave a tuppence about the lives of the people, where they come from, what their stories were. He simply wanted to know whether they're guilty or indeed very guilty. So it is the House Trembling Matters, fabulous independent pub in York. So there he is, he's presiding over us. He's sitting in judgment, he's our judge, and we all have to answer for our crimes, do we not? Whether it is in this life or, as some will believe, in the next. So isn't he fab? So I don't want to swing too far around because I'm sort of hanging over the balcony to get that in, but let's go down a couple of steps. He is a great wig, isn't he? So there we go. And again, now I think you can really see the expression on his face. He actually looks quite calm, actually, quite kindly. I thought he was a bit of a, not a bad bloke, but just sort of like just couldn't care less. But he does have quite a kindly face, actually. Just bring him to that roof line. Can you see that face? I think compared to certainly the Juliet on the balcony, he looks much, much nicer and calmer. So again, I'll just try and come in a little bit closer so you can see. But I think that he is very much a great addition. So let's head down. Head down now towards the guards. I'll give you one last shot of him, just from there, panning up so you get beautiful illumination, the brickwork, and there he is. Isn't that great? Here's the doorway. So I'm sure they must be absolutely delighted, the judges' lodgings, to have such a high pedigree sculpture there in their doorway for the guests, whether you're here to stay or a bite to eat, drink. Great place to come. So as I say, the judges' lodgings in York, originally a purpose-built home for the travelling justices. When they're coming in York to the assize courts, they come and stay here. Not bad digs, is it, for the old judges? Did very, very well. Yeah, loads of detail there, wasn't there? So let's cross over now to the library's the next one. So they'll be coming thick and fast now, or rather as thick and fast as we can find them. As ever with these things, it's a case of can you find the blighters? Because they do hide. There's nothing like wire sculptures for hiding from you. That's a known thing. But we're going to do our very, very best to dig them out for you so that we can join them. How are we getting on? 10 past 4 already, see? Doesn't it feel like we've only been on 20 minutes, half an hour? And we're already an hour and 10 minutes in. Such is the delight of these Ghosts of the Garden tours, which admittedly have come with precious little prep, I'm afraid, on my part, because I wasn't well all week. But nonetheless, I don't think we are suffering greatly. As a result, if we are, and you are, I apologise, but it's like when your head's down, all you want to do is just lie on the sofa and spoon with the dog. It's very, very difficult to. So we'll come round to this lady in a minute. We can get to her through the other side. Let's go to the library lawns first. So Minster in front of us, for those that like a little scene setter. And you're very welcome, Tish, always a pleasure. Our lending library, Public Central Library, right in front of us. And then hopefully we can get into these gardens. Yes, we can. All going swimmingly, as they say. Not going swimmingly, going less swimmingly than I thought. So we're going to need to go into the gardens. Right, okay. So we can get into there, but we can't get in there from this side. Not to worry. We will we'll endeavour to get in there before. So we've now got some half-4 gates to deal with, haven't we? So let's just try and deal with them. Such are the time pressures that we find ourselves under. But nonetheless, we'll endeavour to get you there. The travails, who'd be a tour guide with all these hard deadlines to meet, but I guess it's the fun, isn't it, of making it work best you can. Lovely river house where we were the other day. Remember the Picture Express went to on the Ghost in the Garden? Not the Ghost in the Garden, the York Unlocked. Loved it in there. Really beautiful building. So into the gardens we go, and of course we are going into this first bit is the remains of St Leonard's Hospital, which was a medieval hospital. Sorry, quick across to you, thank you. And so consequently, I believe on the other side of here we have a nurse. I think I remember her from last year. And so we're going through the undercroft of St Leonard's Hospital. It's spooky. Sue's spooning with Millie dog. That's fab. Hope Millie's enduring the tour. And here we are. So, if you don't like needles, I would suggest that you look away now, because this one is pretty sizable, as we said. So we've got what looks to be like a sort of kidney bowl and a needle. So this is a medieval hospital, so I think this lady is a good deal later than the time of this hospital. But the link is there, obviously, with it being a hospital. They've decided to make the medical care be her location. But look at that needle. That is horrible. I would think that they've got all the time in the world, Elizabeth, the ghost, haven't they? She's snoozing, yeah. Is she the doggy? My voice perhaps is doing that to her. So again, rather featureless compared to some. This particular one, it's to me, is neither happy nor sad. She simply is, she's there, she's stoical perhaps. Perhaps the caring profession one needs to be stoical. You don't bring yourself and your needs into it. You're simply there to yeah, it looks like it's there for drawing off liquid, doesn't it? You know, from, you know, in a joint, swelling, that's sort of horrible. I can't imagine you'd use that for a regular jab. It looks to be some kind of pump, doesn't it? It's for extraction. And I say we've got a rather nasty looking kidney bowl on there, so there's a bit more expression on there. So again, I'm not going to say I'm fond of this lady, not because she's done anything to me personally, but rather what she represents. She is all, yeah, Julie's got it right there. She's all business. She doesn't look like she can take any nonsense, does she? She looks like she's like, you're having this injection, we're going to get rid of that horrible liquid, and I've got my leaf in my pocket, look, I brought that. So brace yourself. She's got a look of like, you know, brace yourself. You're a grown man, you can handle this. So, yeah, I think we will, the less said about that one, the better. Let us see if we can get into the other side of the Undercroft, possibly campus, we can't, don't know. We're up against it with gate closures times, but if we can, we will. If we can't, we won't. And you'll never know, of course, what it is that you didn't see. So we've now got Thor's Bar in the garden. It'll be here until after Christmas. So if you hear the loud music, there's a live band playing, doing a Kinks cover, isn't it? So we'll come back. I know you can probably see one there. We're going to come back to that because we can see that on the way out. I'm just going to try and get us into this space here before the gates close. Oh, now Creed's Clearwater Revival, eh? Is it? So again, I'm just looking out as I'm going to try and spot the what's here, but I want to get us inside the multi-angular tower on that side, so that's why we're slightly just getting a bit of a lick on. How cool dog, isn't it? I don't think I'd bother coming out if I was in there now. I've been there till closing time, which wouldn't end well. So perhaps it's a bad idea. But it is a good song, yeah. Is it, what's that film? American Werewolf in London. Famous, isn't it? It's a Bad Moon Rising. So hopefully we can get in through this gate. If not, we'll have a look at this chap here in a minute. He's a chimney sweep. But let's see if we can get in here first. There's a couple in here that would like us to dawn not long, 2 days. Oh, it's open, yeah. So this, we'll come back to you in a minute, sir. 2 days. I was going to plan to do this a couple of weeks back, but things have happened, not been well, and various things and other things came up. So I'm a bit behind. So sometimes I do 2 of these, but this year's going to be 1. So it's a case of enjoy it while you can. And so this is because the gate was closed by the library, so that's why we're taking this rather circuitous route. But it doesn't mean that you don't miss out. But I think we will need our light in here, because this is where the figure that is most definitely supposed to bring a certain famous son of York to mind, who I'm sure you will spot very, very quickly. Born here in York in 1570. There'll be much chat about him in the coming days, so I'll leave you to work out that Did I get your bud? Yes, didn't I? Yeah. Indeed it is, Mr. Foss. I've turned the light on, so in case you're wondering where that light has come from, that's from me. So again, no light. So he's rather rotund, Mr. Fawkes. And of course, Guy Fawkes famously, had his head cut off. So chances are this is him during his lifetime, after his death. Yeah, thank you, Polly. I'm glad I could do it as well. And of course, it may not be Guy Fawkes, but I think the fact that we've got bags saying gunpowder does suggest, doesn't it, that they are intending us to bring that thought to the front of our minds. Yeah, thanks, Joe. Yeah, the 5th. So on bonfire night, when I'll be out doing my usual Guy Fawkes tour with Natalie, of course, 2-parter. It'll be a last chance to see them. So we'll be in these gardens briefly. So it may be, of course, that we can see them a little lit up. It'll be another sort of hour later than we are now, so probably quite dark. So we'll do our best to see them illuminated. So I'm conscious that the gates down the other end shuts at 4:30, or does. So I think we'll just head down there now, because actually there's another one to see first in here. So of course, this being the Roman fortress, remains of the Roman fortress, we have a Roman legionnaire that is waiting for us at the bottom. So I hope you feel that you've had your monies with this tour. I can't even tell you how many we've seen now, but it feels like you've had tremendous value for money on this tour in terms of ghosts per tour. The ratio is pretty darn good, I think. And I don't know whether the light is working or not in terms of helping, or maybe just bringing a different perspective. Who knows? All that, Susan, remember. So here we are. Rather small-looking Roman, it has to be said. I imagine the sort of legionnaire to be sort of somewhat bigger than that. In terms of if I sort of turn around, I'll give you. There's me sort of next to him. You can't actually see his head, so he's not the tallest of legionnaires, but maybe I would have been an exceptionally tall legionnaire back in those days. And so there he is. There's our Roman soldier. So you can see his famous and distinctive curved shield with the boss. Big piece of metal on the front there. Usually shield like a fist. It's not just a defensive weapon. It can be an offensive weapon as well, with a big punch. And the pilum, I think they call him, the sword hanging there by his side. And you can see the neck guard of his helmet there. Somebody will be coming in with a sword and cutting the veins, arteries at the back of his neck. And then we see the armour being rendered on this side. You can't really see his feet, so I can't really tell to what degree his feet appear to be planted in the soil, so you can't really see to what degree they've made an attempt to do the sandals. But nonetheless, it's very pleasing, and again, he looks rather sort of stoical to Milo. I would say that's how I would describe him. So let's push on. Let's see if we can get into the edible garden before it closes, because that's closing in about 8 minutes. So let's hot-foot it across there. And then we've got till 6 in the gardens. Not that I'm going to run till 6, but what means after that there's no rush. So everything else then we can just take our time to take in. So let's just try and get down there. Thank you. Before that closes, see if we can smile, wink, bribe, persuade the garden to leave it open for us for a couple of minutes. And we'll see how we get on. But don't worry, we'll be back to see the ones that we've missed. We've got Lust for Life playing in the background, I think. Oh, no, it's not. I thought it was Lust for Life, but it's not. Similar to the riff. So obviously we're in the gardens now, so there's a good few. So I'm just spotting, I've seen 3 or 4 already. We're about to go and find after this, but as I say, we're just trying to head down towards this area, and then we'll gradually work our way around the gardens. Because what's nice is this year we can get into St Olave's Church, I believe. I'm not quite sure what time they close their gates, and have a look behind the ruins that we normally walk this side of. So still plenty to see. See another 2 on here, so that's good. So we're just going to try now and and get down there. Getting a little bit out of breath, so I'm just going to have a sip of water. We've passed the sweep. Yes, we did. We're going to come back. We're just against it for time in certain areas. So certain areas you can get into till 6, others till 4:30. So consequently, I'm prioritising them. And that gate's still open, so just go in there. And I think there's about 4 or 5 over here, so I'm just going to try and get these before it shuts. Good question, Joe. I generally don't know. I think, you know, to cover band in there, it's very likely that that's a regular gig, but I don't know. Maybe if you have a look on the website, it's Thor's TP, I think it's called. Something like the Viking god Thor. So Thor Thursday, of course, Thor. So it may well have an events listing down there. So it looks like we can get in. We may, of course, get locked out, in which case we've got a long walk back. But if we do, we do. And we'll handle that with equanimity and the odd swear word. So, well, let's get into the garden. Hello, Tina. Just got up. Yeah, well, there's still a few more to see, Tina. So don't worry. What you can do, of course, is at the end of this, he's jumped right back, as they say in the song. And then you can start from the beginning. So what I know that we saw last year is this fabulous bear. I was wondering where the bear was. Just seen him. And this relates to the fact there used to be a zoo, exotic animals that were here in the gardens in the Victorian era. And on more than one occasion, this bear escaped and caused mayhem about the city of York, which is a lovely thought, isn't it? Perhaps a slightly terrifying thought, really, rather than lovely. But nonetheless, it is a true story. So in case you wonder why we have a bear being presented as part of the Ghost in the Gardens, he is part of the city of York. So lovely to see you, Sharon. And text to Sharon. You get bears where you are. Hopefully that doesn't put you off coming to York. They are, thankfully, very few of them. So let's just try and get in this garden here before we head back into the main gardens. What's a William Morris? There's a William Morris exhibition on right now. So if you're seeing William Morris, you'll understand why. So here we are. Let's have a look over here. I think we have Monsieur l'artiste, the chap at his easel, which is appropriate to have behind the art gallery. There we have a chap working at his easel. I think that is altogether apropos. Appropriate, is that right? Apropos. So it could be William Etty or any number of. He looks to me like he's distinctly. Let's just try and get a time, because he's always wearing sort of classic artist garb, so it isn't necessarily screaming a certain era. He's wearing sort of a master's gown. So I'm trying to see if there's any kind of hairstyle really that kind of gives it away. It suggests to me that he's sort of 17th, 18th century by his look and feel, in which case he's a good deal older than William Etty would have been. He was kind of probably York's most renowned artist, or just renowned for saving the walls for his art, to be honest. But here we have the artist at his easel. And of course, you know, in the sort of Romantic period, you know, sort of the early parts of the 19th century, many artists came to York to capture its kind of unique beauty. And of course, these kind of ruins and so forth, they kind of saw it in the kind of Arthurian sort of style. You know, it was this sort of place that hadn't really been touched by the Industrial Revolution. And as a result, it was kind of a playground of the Romantics. So perhaps he's here just dressing up as a painter from a different era. But he's here, as Turner was, and various others come to capture York and that kind of mystical element of it. So let me just see if we can. I think we'll go out of, because I think that gate's just been shut. If we can get out this gate, that would be fab, because I think we've been shut out of that one. If we can't, we're going to have to walk around. But we will see what we can do. So that one's locked. Is this one? Can we get out? So I think we should be able to get out of here. So we've seen the bear. I had an idea the kneeling knight was here, that has been here in years gone by, but I could be wrong. Let's just, that gate's still open, that's good. Remember the kneeling knight? Ah, here he is. Here he is. Always one of my favourites. The knight that is praying, probably for what he's about to do, with the hilt of his sword representing a cross. He's almost certainly a crusader, a man that believes he's in the service of God's will, and as a result can get himself past the old 10 Commandments about killing and all those kind of annoying details that do kind of get in the way somewhat if you're planning to go away to war. So here we come to a monastery to pray for his soul, for atonement, and be given carte blanche. It means a white piece of paper, white paper, carte blanche, to go and do what needs to be done on behalf of God, and then he can come back here and get atonement. I love the knight. He's an altogether splendid rendering, and I really like him here amongst the bamboo as well. It really works for me. I'm going to try. Let's go from behind. We're very near the gates. So if someone tries to lock up, we'll quickly dodge out of the way. Thank you, Elizabeth. So you can see here, he's bad. So this was a major thing, of course, for the knights, the crusaders, is they come to the monasteries. Of course, we're in the site of a monastery now, and the monks would literally pray for them. So whilst one person's prayer was worth kind of 1 unit of prayer, a monk's was already worth 10 times that because they were monks. So you imagine you get 100 monks to the power of 100 praying. It meant they could go away, kill lots of people, come back, and you still could find your place in heaven because these monks had all prayed for your soul in the meantime. So consequently, this commodification of prayer was what the monasteries really did. It wasn't just about being holy, it was about a concentration place where you could have a production line of prayer. So all these holy knights on their way to the Crusades could go there in the knowledge, or in the belief rather, that their souls were safe. So that was the idea. So you see his hands down here, hand in glove, the Smith's fans there. And isn't he fab? So the other gate that I've just noticed is open, so I don't want us to miss, is St Olave's Church. So let's go across there. I feel like I'm sort of forever rushing, but just a flesh wound, absolutely. Just a flesh wound. He does look a bit like that, doesn't he, the Black Knight? So rather charmingly, our friend, so Reverend Liz from York on Loch, one of her churches, and we went to on York on Loch. Was it last weekend? No, 3 weekends ago. Good Lord. How time flies. So I'm gradually publishing those videos, by the way, in case you haven't seen. So if you look on my channel or look for the hashtag York on Loch 2024, the playlist rather, you'll find, I think I've done 3 so far, so I'll do a couple more this week. So these are the delightful gardens of St Olave's Church. And of course, what's fabulous about these gardens is it gives us the opportunity to look at the ruins that we're so used to seeing in the gardens, but from the other side, which is just fab. And now look at this then. So we've got the Ghost in the Gardens. It's the 5th, but the 7th to the 10th is Ghost After Dark. So perhaps we'll see if we can catch a ticket to get in and do a live stream after dark or some video work. That'd be cool, right? Right, I don't know what's in here, but what I do know, of course, is we can have a little look at the rear of the arches, which if you always get so often. Or as I say, we were in here just recently with York on Loch and Reverend Liz, but I can't remember how much time we spent in the garden. Now, so there's a monk here. The first time monks this year. So in years gone by, lots of monks. This is the first one that we've seen, and the monks, I think, always are very expressive and very impressive. And just here by William Etty's grave, which has recently had a new plaque. So if you take a photo of that, you can have a little look and read all about William Etty. Died 1849. And so here we have our first monk of 2024. We'll come around this side so you can see. So you get a wonderful shot like the Gothic arch there into the gardens. And here we have a monk deep in prayer. Wouldn't it? Yeah, I agree, Leslie. It'd be fantastic to see what we get after dark. I will ask the question, and they can only say no, can't they? And they may well do so, but we'll ask the question. I'm just trying to capture the angle of this right. The ruins are sad. Okay, interesting. I know this song as well. It's can you hear that music? Do you know what it is? Oh, it's Osmond's Crazy Horses. That's what it is. I think. There we go. Look at the face there. Just get the mouth and the chin. You see it? I think there's a second one here somewhere. And I have an idea it might be in the church. But I didn't know. Should we go and have a look? We can always come back. You never know, revellers might be inside. Yeah, we should do that. Definitely do that. Go and watch Monty Python. So I know I think there's a beekeeper here or something like this. I seem to remember being told. So at the rear of St Olave's Church, and the beehives are on this side. So I guess maybe. Oh, look, let's just have a look, just in case it's inside, because the gate is open. So. Just in case it is inside. It's very dark in here, so I'm not going to film. But how cool is that? But I don't think it's in here. Look at this, by the way. Look at this. Is it the transitory trap, I think they call it? I'll just show you this because it's lit up beautifully, and it's not normally lit like this when I've come in before. So nothing to do with ghosts, but everything to do with we're here. So look at that for lighting. Isn't that beautiful for a Sunday? So a side chapel, the main altar, of course, on that side, but isn't that beautiful? Very calm. Right, so let's go and see if we can find the beekeeper, because I think there is a ghost of a beekeeper. Again, it's St Olave's, very beautiful Church of York, so I'll be putting that up, that video in here, probably in the next week or so. It'd be great. But if we can't find it, or it's not here, if I'm being misinformed, as Humphrey Bogart said, I don't it's down there, then not to worry, we'll be back in the gardens, and there are quite a few to see. Brave Sir Robin, indeed, from the Holy Grail. What a space, eh? Yeah, beautiful church. It was a largely kind of rebuilt in, I think, the 14th, 15th century, Tina, but originally much older than that, 11th century in origin, founded famously by, or at least to commemorate the passing of our Viking king, King Olaf of Sweden, and consequently it is St Olaf's Church. So originally a Viking, latterly towards the end of his life became a Christian, and so here he is. I thought there was a beekeeper. No, look at this. This prepared could be your favourite, because this is not only a beekeeper, it's got bees. We'll try with the light and try the light off, on and off, and we'll just see if it makes any difference. Well, no, it'll make a difference if it improves things. So light on. I'll try light on for a little bit and then we'll switch it off. Look at that, how cool is that? So we've got a beekeeper, and floating around is bees. Isn't that something? So again, of course, it's a beekeeper from years gone by. It's nothing contemporary, so we can tell by the garb. But isn't that one? And is the light working for you? Just so do let me know. I'm just turn it back off again. So light off or light on. Which you enjoying? The bees are something, aren't they? Try and get a close-up of a bee for you. Ghost bees. Yeah, ghost honey. That's exactly what does ghost honey taste like. Light on, Catherine. Okay, so well, I'm doing both, so that whatever your preference is, you're getting looked after. So yeah, the light on off a little bit. Where's a ghostly glow? Is he? More ghostly light off. Yeah, we'll do both, Dawn. Don't worry. On and off. That's the beauty of a switch, right? But I think it's perhaps picking out the bees better, but the beekeeper's perhaps better without. So it's kind of both, isn't it, really? And more of a contrast. Oh, hi, Anne. I didn't raise you on. Maybe have you drawn a bee, Anne? I suspect that would be something enjoyable for you to get across. The budding artist in our community. We're such an artistic lot these days. So let's turn the light off for a second, and we'll look at them from the rear. So there's just enough light, I think, for both, really, isn't there? There isn't neither's right, particularly. Do you want me to move out of the way and you take a better shot? But I love these. So again, let's just... Ooh. Oh, look at that one now. We've got the minster behind. Now that is the shot of the day. Even though I say it myself. Whoever positioned that, expert. So we've got a monk who's also a beekeeper. And bees, of course, used to make mead and honey. And honey, of course, used for sweetening things, preserving as well, of course. But isn't that fabulous? So through the monk's hood, we can now see the western tower of the minster. If that is not a shot, then I'm going to give up going, because that to me is absolutely magnificent. Love that. And again, we'll go with the light off for a minute. Oh, for me? Oh, do they? Okay. Well, they can do that without me being aware of it. Much nicer having photos you don't know being taken than ones you do. That's the ones you might want to look at again in the future. So here we have the drum. Or is that a fumigator? What would that be? Can we see the hood light? Yeah, you just have done. Yeah. I'll just move back a little bit. So I think that just works amazingly. This idea of a swarm of bees surrounding, I just absolutely love. I just think that's maybe. I'd heard there was a bee here, and I knew it was a new one, but I hadn't seen it. So I hadn't seen a picture of it or anything. And as with all these things, sometimes you've seen them on social media. I try and avoid it really, if I can. But you know, that's made my day. I think that is absolutely wonderful. Smoke. I think you're probably right. A smoke canister, old-fashioned skep. Right. In terms of the outfit, is that a skep? I don't know what a skep is. Then so there we go. I think a big jar. Yeah. For the either way, I think we're all going to agree that is an absolute delight. So onwards and upwards. The light is starting to go down now. So let's. We're already 5:15. My God, I've been on nearly 2 hours. My phone battery will be in a minute saying, "Let me sleep in peace." So I don't want to go beyond 5 o'clock because my voice is starting to go. I don't want to wake up tomorrow and be set backwards. So let's see what we can see in the remaining 15 minutes of this tour in the gardens. Could be Pooh Bear. Love more, but my favourite. Yeah, I think, Fran, I think that's probably going to do well in the popular vote. Perhaps you can let me know on Facebook afterwards if you haven't decided. Look back across your snaps for those that like to take them and decide which one you think has been the highlight of the day. So I think we will just now zigzag across the gardens, do our best in the light as it's going down to show you as many as we can. And it's gone really quick, hasn't it, Fran? But I started at 3 o'clock and it is now 4:45. And it's such a thing. You know, some people don't like that. I know some people like tours to be really kind of tight and, you know, an hour. So that's fine. But the good thing about YouTube is you can skip forward, can't you? So if somebody watches this later, they can skip forward the bits in between and just go from ghost to ghost, can't they? And probably save, you know, 40 minutes of walking around time. So probably a nice tidy hour in there. Right. Oh, got Billy Idol now. So we've got another monk praying, and I'm glad it's working for you, Lynn. Sorry you're not feeling so good, but I'm glad this is. Now it's interesting that you can hear music here because, interestingly, in the early years of the 14th century, a bunch of monks here, the Cistercians, sought to leave because you couldn't hear God here. It was too noisy. Appropriate. There's the rock music in the background. Because there was so much entertaining going on and fundraising. There were so many nights coming and going and people looking for kind of benediction and saving, you know, saving their souls. So consequently, the monks felt it was just too busy, and so they decided they wanted to go and join. So they were Benedictine monks rather, and wanted to go and join the Cistercian order. And they founded Fountains Abbey in the 1320s, I believe, as a silent order. Eventually stopped being a silent order, but initially was just like to get rid of all this noise and disturbance and the focus on kind of raising a fund. So I think it's quite appropriate here. We've got this monk that's trying to pray, and in the background we can hear the thumping of Billy Idol and Rebel Yell kind of going on there. So again, a great face, but it does at times. I don't know if it's my reading of these things, if it's me being accurate, or it's just I'm laying things on because I have to know things about York. Or there is, you know, a really, really cool bit of understanding of the history of York in terms of the placement and so forth. In which case, I applaud them. If not, isn't it great that you can just put your own narrative on top and both work? So another one over here. Oh, I'm getting my first battery warning. So but that's all right. I said we'll be done in 10 minutes into so 15 minutes. Let's see what we can do. Now here's one I think we're going to need the light on, so apologies for those that aren't into the light, but there's a rope. I'm not going to stray over it because that's rather antagonistic. I'm not going to poke the bear. I know this one, this lady is. Let's start with some zoom. And so we've got here a nun. You see her rosaries down the side. You look at the 3 rosaries, and of course each of those. Each of those knots represents different. It's. I know one of them is chastity, honesty, and faith. Is it faith? Faith, chastity, and honesty? Something like that. Look at her face. Isn't that beautiful? I'll just try some light on her, see what that does. Too far away to cast a light ray, I think. Yeah, slight. To me, that's one of the best rendered faces. I don't know what you think, but just check about there. If I hold it just there, this is to me is as good as the Viking. Can you remember what we were getting from the Viking? That now to me is just amazing. There's just so much going on. I agree, it's complete. The detail is something else, Susan. I absolutely love it. I'll just try and lean in a little bit further with the gimbal, just get as much as we can. But I say there's a rope in front of me. It's probably about 15 feet away from me, so I'm on a lot of zoom. Isn't it as well, Fran? I completely agree. It's a work of art, isn't it? There's no other way of describing it. It is a beautiful work of art. You see the cross there. So again, I'm just holding it so you can really just look in at, get below the layers. You see the veil over the top. Have a look at the cross, the beautiful rendering that's in there of that cross, kind of headpiece. Her hands are folded. She's in is it cowl? Do you call those sleeves? Which of course would be very, very good at keeping warm in the winter. So it's kind of practical. I think we've seen this one before, Bridget. Do other people think so? I seem to remember this lady before. I remember the. I agree, Sharon. Really close to the sculpture, you know. So I think, you know, and for anybody particularly that's got faith, I think they've got real spirituality. I think that it's not simply a rendering of a nun. I think there's a lot of spirituality being conveyed within this. I think it's very, very kind of respectful, kind of rendering. It seems to me that it's she gorgeous. Yeah, I think so. I agree, Linda. There's something very, very peaceful there. And of course, you know, nuns, you know, emotionally it's about an abandonment, isn't it, of individuality, you know, and embracing, you know, of faith and so forth. So it's not about how you look individually, but nonetheless there is something wonderfully individual about that face. Faith, hope and charity. Okay, thank you, Philippa. Yeah, I think we've seen it before, Leslie and Don. Yeah, I think you're right. So let's wander on, because we're a few more to see, and we're, as I say, we are fighting the light. You went on last year, Linda. Oh, fantastic! Then you know, then bang on. There's got to be a lot of newbies for you this year. Obedience, chastity, and poverty. Yeah, I think that's right, actually, Jackie. I think faith, hope, and charity is more just a you know, part of the creed system, the belief system, really. But each of those knots, when you tie the knots in the ropes around the waist, it is a reminder of the oaths that you made as a novice before you became. Do nuns get ordained? What's a nun version of ordained? Whatever it is, anyway. You know, when you finally take your vows to say that's it, you know, you are in it for life. Then they are the vows that you make. So thank you for that, Jackie, for clearing that up for us. Some lovely blue light coming through now. I'm just seeing if there's one, because in previous years there's been one in here, but it's in the gatehouse. Isn't that stunning, the blue light? Yeah, I agree with that. Deep in contemplation, I think that's a nice way of putting it, Dawn. I agree with that. I think that. Here it is, yeah. Now, so, okay. So I think we've probably got the bride over here. So you've seen this before twice, so I don't think we'll worry too much about getting it the wrong way around. But we've got the runaway bride. So here we have the groom, or the best man, we don't quite know which, with his bow tie. And he's rather dressed up to the nines. He's got his top hat here. So he is in pursuit, as they say. Make their full profession. Is that what they call, Jackie? Thank you. Profession. Interesting. To proffer is to offer, isn't that would make sense, wouldn't it? Profession. Interesting. Thank you. So we've got over here, I'm assuming. Let's go and find her. The rather sinister-looking bride. So these are definitely there in the first year. So it's grown each year and got slightly bigger. But these two are definitely kind of originals. So I think we may well need a bit of light over here because it's rather dark under here. But nonetheless, so there she is. Oh, it's like Woman in Black, isn't it? That really creepy film that I watched with my kids not so long back, actually. Really enjoyed it. Only 12, it's really jumping all over the place. So God knows what it'll be like with 18. So there she is. So as ever with this, it's not clear whether she's having second thoughts, whether she's been jilted. If it is, it suggests that's the best man rather than the groom. You don't jilt somebody then run towards them, do you? So another type of vow now. We've had nuns taking vows. Of course, the bridal vows is another. Professor, thank you, Leslie. Professor. So professor, interesting. And proffer is to offer, isn't it? So, but look at that now. That looks like sheet metal, doesn't it? Can you see with the veil? There's different gauge rather. So that's a smaller gauge, and that now works. So if I pull back, that now looks like a solid bit of fabric, doesn't it? It's. Thank you, Julie. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Isn't that fab? So she did have a ring. Here she is. Yeah, I think she's still got the ring. It's very dark under here now. If I actually show you up, it looks like it's the lights, but it's not. It's really low light in here now. But of course, that's the benefit of my rig. There's now got a light fitting on it as well. So she's holding a ring rather than lighting. So if you wonder, when those are able to contribute to tips, I spend on things like buying torches and just trying to get your experience better light, better sound, better pictures. So that's, if you do contribute, it just helps up the quality, which I think is important because you really don't want to be watching rubbish, do you? We're all too long in the tooth to be watching rubbish. So you want good sound, good picture, good light, and so we try and do the best that we can. So hopefully this light is working nicely for you. But yeah, I think it works really, really well. The contrast between the gauge of wire for the lighting. Oh, give the ring back. Oh, she could be. Now Leslie's hit on something there. Let's get rid of your leaf. It's not very fetching, is it? Got a lovely bow at the back. So is that what she's doing? She's handing back the ring, saying, well, I can't marry you. So that was just that she's the one that jilts, wasn't it? Is that right? Is that what you're thinking? Or that it's the irony she's taken off the ring and contemplating it because she's been... So make up your own narrative here, guys, that there is no right and wrong, simply what do you think? So decide, just let me know. Do you think that she is the jilter or the jilted? Let's look in at her face one more time and we will... Veil does light still, doesn't it? Yeah. I mean, it'll look different. If I switch the light off, you'll see the difference now because it's getting... So we can't really pick out the detail without the light. We do need to get that blue light behind. But I'll just try and see if it gives you any clue in the face without the light on. Is she like the Clash song, Susan? Should I say or should I go now? Is that where she's coming from there? I'm just trying that. Is that the gold? Because I've got a white light and a gold light. It's more of a gold panel there. I generally don't know. I mean, as with all this is there is no right answer, there's no wrong answer. There's simply an interpretation. But let's see who else we can find, because it is certainly, the light is getting low now. As I say, of course, what these cameras do is they give the impression of it being quite light out here, but it's not. It's getting really dark. But let's see if we can just see one or two more of these before we finish. If we go towards the gates, actually, there is... We've seen the highwayman, we haven't seen Dick Turpin yet, have we? We haven't seen the chimney sweep, we'll go and see him. So I think, well, there's at least 2 or 3 more that we can see. And the astronomer, I think, is over here as well. So she's the jilter, but he's holding out hand to her. Yeah, okay, so Sharon thinks that she's backing out. It's interesting, isn't it? I mean, that's the thing, isn't it, with this, is there's no right answer. It's simply, how did it make you feel? I mean, I'm sure the artist will be fascinated to kind of see that kind of straw poll and see, what impact their art had, because I'm assuming the same person was responsible for both, the overall kind of composition. So yeah, who's the wronged party there in all this? And of course, going back, in time, there were like contracts, but you could be sued and it cost you an awful lot of money for backing out of a marriage. These things were often done, to sort of cement fortunes with the inheritance and all that sort of stuff. So with titles, might be. So it was a big deal to back out of a marriage engagement and so forth. So consequently, there could be not just a wronged party, but a guilty party. So where is Thomas Cook? So Thomas Cook, if we're just looking for him now, is the chap behind, he's commemorated over here. And he's an instrument maker. He designed the first sort of brilliant telescope of York, which kind of put York on the map from an astronomical point of view. But he was a real kind of working class stock. And he was the kind of classic guy, who worked hard, made good, brilliant mathematician, kind of lens grinder, really learned his craft, and produced, a telescope that was way beyond anything that anybody had done. But he wasn't a Royal Academician. He wasn't sort of cut from high society. He was simply a man with a vision and desire to create something amazing, and he did so. And Thomas Cook, not the holiday guy, became synonymous with quality, precision telescopes. So here he is over here. He was on the roof last year, that's right, but this year he's on the deck. So here he is. Here he is with his telescope. So as I say, he ended up as a very kind of well-renowned scientist, but I'm sure he's really driven by passion. I think that's the word we use these days, isn't it? These people are driven by passion to invent and to create, and obviously the desire, I'm sure, to just want to see more of the universe. So the observatory, I should have come this way, is behind him. But isn't he fabulous? So again, I'll just try and get something of his personality. I think it's pretty hopeless now trying to do this without illumination on. I don't think you're going to really see anything. But splendid hat. We'll come around this side. It's very cloudy tonight, so it's like a bowl of porridge. That's sky. I don't see anything up there tonight. So there we go. You can see down the barrel of the telescope. Isn't he fab? I've got 8% battery left, so this really is going to be the last couple that we're going to see for this year, and I'm going to say goodbye. But as you can see, we're at 5 o'clock, which we said we're going to finish at. So we've got 2 hours out of me. I think you've done very well. If you are able to help financially, that'd be fantastic. That'd be great. Those that aren't, I appreciate that. But if you are able to leave a tip, if you think 2 hours entertainment is worthy of a little reward, that'll be most appreciated. And it just all helps. So let's just go and try and get the last couple in for you. Bottle of porridge sky, yeah. Chimney sweep, not really a job that exists these days so much, you know, or is in demand, but they appear at weddings, don't they? I don't know where that came from. But if you've seen Mary Poppins, this guy's very much of the Dick Van Dyke sort of character with his dodgy accent. So there he is. Don't know what the relevance of a chimney sweep is, but he's rendered really rather well. I think it's... yes, don't forget to like, subscribe, if you aren't already, on YouTube for more of this, well, of what I do really, I suppose, want a better description. So again, he hasn't got particularly strong features, this chap, but he's got a muffler on. Can you see around his neck there? The grandad shirt, muffler's got, he's got braces. Oh, look at that. Isn't that fantastic? And Razzie got braces. So you see the fork out the bottom. So he's got his gloves. He's got his shovel there. He's good, isn't he? I like him. I think he's new. Have we seen him before? I think he's new. Do let me know if you think you've seen him before. But I think that he's new. He's very steely jawed, isn't he? Right, I'm going to show you 2 more because I'm on 8%, or was an 8% battery 2 or 3 minutes ago. That could be on 4% now, so I may cut out because obviously this uses a lot of battery power up doing this. I don't really like walking in with no phone, which isn't great, but there we go. That's just the price you pay for doing this. So let's just see if we can just get for you Dick Turpin and his horse. I'm starting to get a little bit of juddering, so I'm wondering if that's telling me that... so if I disappear, you'll understand that it's simply my phone has just gone, blech. I am now dead. Completely exhausted, fallen over, has got nothing left to give. I think it's new as well. But you probably remember we've seen these before, so it's not a great tragedy if we don't catch them. And of course, I'm back here on Tuesday telling the story of Guy Fawkes. So consequently, we'll be in here again. So you may lose me suddenly, absolutely, Tina. But just before we do, I'd say we've seen them before. Yeah, I've got one, Leslie, and my daughter's nicked them off me. I've got 2.